Hey YouTubers, and once again I've been tagged, and no, this isn't a Christmas tag, Halloween tag, or even a gamer tag, or even a straightforward tag video. No, this is the 80s tag created by NEStalgiaholic AKA Gameter81. Now, I'm only about 2 weeks late in creating my video, but I've had to give some thought over some of these answers as they're not exactly the easiest of questions to answer. Well, without any further delay, here comes my favourite memories of the 80s. Well, growing up during the 1980s was just fantastic. There were so many great TV shows, films, cartoons, toy lines and video games, and a lot of which is still extremely popular to this very day and will be for many years to come. And now I have the tricky job of choosing my favourites from these 5 great questions. So question number 1 is, what is my favourite 80s TV show? Well, growing up during the 1980s, I was still fairly young and I didn't pay much attention to mainstream TV shows. But it wasn't until the 1990s and right up until today that I ever really fully appreciate the quality of the shows at the time during the 1980s. Well, let's find out what my favourite 80s TV show is. Well, Only Fools and Horses is a British TV sitcom that ran from 1981 right through till 1991, and there have been a few Christmas specials since. The show mainly concentrates on the efforts of father and son Derek and Rodney Trotter as you watch their highs and lows in their attempts to finally becoming rich, and it's an absolute gem. Well, choosing a TV show from the 80s was hard enough, and now for me to choose a film from the 80s, and there are just so many classics out there, it really is impossible for me to choose. I could change my mind every 5 seconds, so what I'm going to have to do is show you a selection of my favourites. Well, choosing my favourite movie has been a real task. Each of the movies you see have been watched endless amounts of times over the years, and there are still many missing from this list, such as The Goonies and E.T. and Back to the Future, which is one film that I possibly could say is my favourite, as I used to watch it back to back throughout any day. It was awesome. But knowing me, I could change my mind at any time, and I could even choose the Star Wars films or Back to E.T. or The Goonies. It really is that hard. So what's next? My favourite 80s cartoon. Well, this is actually fairly easy for me, and I actually used to own the sword from the cartoon, which was the Sword of Omens. So that might give you a clue into what the show is. If not, here comes the answer. Well, this was the cartoon during the 80s that definitely stood out to me from the rest. I loved all the characters and they all brought a lot of life to this really cracking cartoon, including Mum Ra, the evil mummy, who was quite fun to watch. And as a result of enjoying it so much, I even received the Sword of Omens for my birthday one year. Well, that's the cartoons out of the way. Now for some real fun with classic 80s toy lines, and there are many great ones to choose from Scalextrics, Sabutio, Tony Robots, Lego and Barbie dolls. Well, one of those are my favourites, so let's find out which one is. Well, the main toy line that I had the most fun with during the 1980s had to be Lego. In 1988 I received the Lego Castle, and in 1989 I received the Lego Pirate Ship, which you can see here. It had many interactive pieces that you could play with, including the cannons which could fire real Lego bricks, and pulleys and all sorts of interactive materials, and it was just great fun and kept me quiet for hours on end. And finally we come to my favourite question, my favourite 80s video game. Now during the 80s I owned a Spectrum 128K+2, which you may have heard me say before, and during that time I played several games for hours on end, from R-Type to Operation Wolf and Bullseye, and there was one other game which has landed as my favourite. So let's take a look to find out what it is. Well, Outrun has to be my most favourite game of the 80s. I played this game endlessly on my Spectrum 128K+2, and no matter how bad I was or how far I got, I was hooked. It had fairly good graphics and decent music, but more importantly, it always made me happy when I played this hugely successful classic of Outrun. Well, I really hoped that you've enjoyed finding out my answers to these really great questions, and I've had a lot of fun in looking back over the 80s once again to finally decide what my favourites were, and also I've had a lot of fun in bringing out some old DVDs, toys and games as well. Well, I've got some tagging to do myself, and I'm going to reel off 4 tags today, and first off I'm going to start with Ready03, second of all is JasonRelaxation, third is Spectreair, and finally number 4 is Ra7icu5, and I'm sorry if I've pronounced the names incorrectly. Well, that's just about it from me today. Have a great week, and I'll see you on Sunday for another part of Video Games and Consoles from the Loft, and well, thanks for watching.